Ollie's illusion of grandeur has gotten so out of whack that
You know what I can do better? Bendy and the Ink Machine has been here for a while now, and I, like a lot of people, feel genuine nostalgia for the old chapters and songs that came out 8 years ago. While the main game isn't really good at all, the sequel, Bendy and the Dark Revival, is a genuinely great one, and a much better written story, and has actual gameplay. Well, after Dark Revival had released, quite a few people wondered if there was indeed a way to touch up Bendy and the Ink Machine and make it up to snuff to Dark Revival. So a group of devs made a fan game called Out of the Ink Machine, and it's pretty cool. Out of the Ink Machine is a complete overhaul of Chapter 1 with the combination of the new and old with completely randomly generated events that would happen every playthrough. Although what's strange about it is that it's completely different from Bendy in a weird way. An example would be Joey's letters written completely different, and Wally not only sounding different but has completely unique dialogue. Of course, the last question is then left with, what does Bendy look like? And well, oh, that's not Bendy. This is Ollie. He's actually a completely new character, and acts a lot differently, mainly from the fact that he can actually kill you. Throughout Out of the Ink Machine, he's pretty playful for the most part, and sometimes is mocking by saying things like not quite what you remember, or laughing at you when you hear I'm out of here in Wally's tape. He also has a pretty playful track that plays when chasing you, and a pretty funny jump scare, honestly. He's definitely off-putting, taking all the cute and charming aspects of Bendy and just making them not, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's scary in any way. At the end, like in the original Chapter 1, Ollie shows up at the end, except this time he gives a hush animation and the game ends. That was really nice. Gameplay is solid, graphics are great, and the new randomly generated changes are interesting and make every playthrough unique. And Ollie is a nice but off-putting remake of Bendy and has a good bit of personality to go along with him. That being said, Bendy is 8 years old. It'd be kinda nice to go back and maybe compare the two, plus I have a lot of nostalgia for it. Sure enough, on the 8th anniversary, someone re-released the original Bendy Chapter 1 from 2017. It's honestly really cool to see the old Bendy again, the small ink machine, the grayer lighting, and other things. The gameplay is kinda shit, but oh well, it was made 8 years ago. Let's carry on it. This is not Bendy. Ollie has gone from Out of the Ink Machine to Bendy, and his true nature is revealed. This is Bendy 2017 Prototype, a game which Ollie hunts you down through various randomized methods. There is no consistency to what he'll do. He could be a cutout that can act like a weeping angel, he can chase you as a 3D model, or he'll just outright kill you. Sometimes all three if you're unlucky enough. He also will make various strange sounds, such as the cutout playing a radio that talks about the greatest baseball player, and a crowd then cheering for him. He sometimes will play the classic Bendy cutout jump scare, but with a lower pitch before instantly killing you, or just nothing at all. Even when 3D Ollie shows up, he can play these loud-ass footsteps, or just be completely silent. When Ollie kills you, an image of his face will pop up. The resolution is actually lowered to emulate the crashing, which is complemented by the crashing sound of all things. An error message will then also pop up that gives insight into why he's doing this. Or he'll just dox you, because why not? These messages are incredibly snide and show how much spite he truly has for the player. He'll say things like,
"You people will do so much to remember. Idolatry is a fundamental sin. This is pointless. But you already know that. Can't look forward if you keep looking back."
The most interesting and recognizable one he says is,
"Follow the path,"
which is in reference to Out of the Ink Machine, where that phrase is also associated with it. This is Ollie directly calling out to go back to his game and follow the path. As seen in his other dialogue, he clearly is pissed that you aren't playing his game, and he hates that we feel nostalgia for what he deems just a pointless game. And this is where we get to finally see who Ollie truly is and what he represents. Almost every Bendy villain has had a specific motif where they focus on the toxicity of something to do with creativity. Joey represents a toxic businessman who cares more about profit and self-image than the care of his employees. Alice Angel focuses on the toxicity of beauty and becoming too enthralled and being a voice of a character. Sammy is a toxic music creator who dedicates his life to worshipping an idol that ultimately doesn't care about him. And even Wilson represents some form of toxicity as he desperately tries to be better than the shadows he lives under. And then there's Ollie. He represents a problem I've been talking to people about for a very long time, and oftentimes this issue goes ignored, or worse, sometimes even praised. There's been many media, mainly remakes and retellings, where the creator uses this phrase, I can do better. While this may seem like a good thing as it serves as motivation for the creator to try harder, the problem is that it really dives into a toxic spiral where the creator believes that they are better and that their ideas are the only good ones. I've seen so many projects, mainly in movies actually, where it ultimately fails because either it throws out the elements that made the older thing good, or just does its own thing that doesn't work and refuses to accept any criticism for it. You have movies like Joker 2 where the whole point of it is to bash the audience for liking the first one, and look what happened to it. It became one of the biggest failures of 2024, especially for DC. You have that Megalopolis where so many people told the director, this is a bad idea, you need to fix this, and he refused to take any criticism. And again, it also became a financial failure. And on the side of movies that have a weird cult following, you have movies like Rebel Moon where the creator, again, refuses to accept any criticism, does his own thing that just doesn't work. And then some people praised it, which is what makes him do it more and continue to make these failures. Now, let's look at Ollie with this in mind. He comes from a remake of a game that loses all the charm, and while yes, it looks and plays better, it just doesn't feel the same. Then he gets incredibly snide, egotistical, and spiteful when you go back to the older game that he deems inferior. This is incredibly close to creators who have this I can do better mentality behave. Not only does this fit the motif of other Bendy villains, but it's also incredibly meta. You have this villain who not only believes he is superior, but also will do everything in his power to prove that he is. And he has the power to do so in Bendy 2017, and he uses it to show his spite towards both you and the older game you're playing. He doesn't even necessarily hate Bendy himself, he just thinks he's better. He completely ignores Bendy when he shows up, and all the images of Bendy are still there, such as the cutouts and even the ending screen, yet he still believes he's better to the point, as mentioned before, he plays audio that calls himself the greatest player and a crowd cheering for him. And I do genuinely think he sees himself as a player too. He and his cutouts always spawn at the exact same place the player does. He also seems to try to stand out as he and the cutouts both actually glow in the dark in Bendy 2017. His gameplay directly ties into how he solely exists in this game to fuck with you. He wants you to play his game so bad, and it's incredibly reflective how creators in the real world would try so hard for people to like their product, even when they've been nothing but snide, egotistical, and spiteful to their audience. It really is a big problem that causes a lot of media to fail, although, as mentioned before, sometimes it can create a worse problem where there's a toxic cult following that feed into the creator's ego by defending their vision. Although so far Out of the Ink Machine or Bendy 2017 hasn't necessarily commented on toxic cult followings, at least to my understanding, just toxic creators and individual fans through Ollie himself as a villain. I think all of the actions and dialogue Ollie has made, it turns him into a great meta and Bendy antagonist, being able to perfectly show the toxicity of the phrase, I can do better. Now, I do want to preface, this is not meant to be discouraging to anyone who wants to make something. Quite the opposite, actually. Rather than saying, I can do better, I think it's much healthier to say, I have a vision for how something should go. What I mean by this is try making something in your own unique way, while also respecting whatever source material came before, at least when it goes for remakes. When it comes to making something original, remember to at least take criticism. You don't have to implement it, but at least be willing to listen to those who want your work to improve rather than snapping back at them. Anyway, that's about all I wanted to say. Ever since I played 2017 Prototype, I became obsessed with it and Ollie as a villain, as I genuinely think he's amazingly well made. He also genuinely is really fucking scary and 100% my favorite EXE character to date. Hopefully you guys found my analysis of him interesting as well. Although, if you're looking for more Ollie content, I got you covered. This video is actually a collab between a good friend Buried Soil, so go watch his take on Ollie when that comes out. Don't forget to do the generic YouTube stuff such as liking and subscribing, and I'll see you all next time. Look behind
You know, maybe the ink vial didn't appear because you didn't listen to
Oh my god!